What is the weirdest pet you've ever seen somebody traveling with?
In an RV?
Yeah.
A parrot.
That was pretty weird.
That was pretty weird. Well, I've seen an iguana, too. Somebody had, like, an iguana.
Is an iguana normal, or is it weird? I was trying to think about that earlier.
I feel like it's kind of weird in an RV. But, I mean, I guess, like...
They eat a lot of bugs.
They do eat a lot of bugs, yeah. I guess that's very, very true. The parrot, though, was really funny, because the parrot could say full sentences. And so I had taken our dog out to go to the restroom, like, in the middle of the night one night, and all of a sudden I just hear this, like, sentence being said over and over and over again.
Somebody's learning English.
Yeah, and I was like, what is going on? Like, do our neighbors have the TV on and they just have this one scene on repeat, or what? I couldn't figure it out until we met our neighbors the next day and struck up a conversation, and then they started talking about it. And yes, they do travel with a parrot that's, like, I think older than they are, because they live for a really long time.
Yeah.
And it was inherited from somebody else. And so, yeah, it was actually really, really cool. They had a cool setup for it in their camper and everything, but that was strange. But speaking of traveling with pets, if you're thinking about it, think again. Here are the things you need to know before you put those fur babies in the RV. Welcome to the Wandering RV Show, your source for our stories,
our screw-ups,
and our successes living the full-time RV life. I'm your host, Kara, the Wandering RV Babe, and this is my driver, Ryan.
That's her, that's me. Howdy. So, when we first started RVing, a friend of ours who just had, like, never RV'd in their entire life asked a question that I was flabbergasted by. It was the most absurd question I think I'd ever heard. But then I realized, like, I guess if you don't know, if you've never done this, you wouldn't really think about it. They asked if our dog travels in the RV on travel day. And I at first, I think...
That's a big no-no.
I was like, why would somebody even ask this? Like, it seemed insane to me. But if you don't understand, you don't know, yes... I guess legally you could do it, but no, you should not do it. That's not safe. The RV gets hot. It bounces down the road. Like, I mean, your stuff gets rearranged all the time. Do you really want that happening to your dog?
Yeah, there's no seatbelts or anything like that.
Dogs wear seatbelts?
Well, that's true. Dogs don't. Well, but a lot of people will have them in a kennel or something.
That's true. That's true.
And we're specifically talking about towable RVs, because that's what we have is a fifth wheel, so it...
Obviously, on a Class A, or
a motorhome, yeah, of course they're going to be in there with you. But it is important to keep them away from the driver's seat and away from the pedals and the steering wheel and things like that. So, you know, you do have to think about your pets on travel day. Which brings us to our main topic, how to take care of your pets when you're RVing and traveling down the road. But before we get to that, be sure to hit that subscription notification bell so that you get notified anytime we have a new episode come out. And here we go.
So how do we make... How do talk?
Talking's hard. Words are hard sometimes.
How do you make the most of traveling with a pet?
Well, you have to be conscientious of them.
That's true, yes.
The very first thing that I would say is a pro tip for traveling with a pet is thinking about them when you're hitching and unhitching, or you're, like, getting set up and getting packed away to go.
Well, I also think it's important to make them feel comfortable, because dogs, especially dogs, I can't speak for other animals, but especially dogs, they like their routines. They like, familiarity. They like to know, hey, this is where I like to use the restroom. They like to know...
That's hard when it constantly changes.
Yeah, and so I've always wondered, like, realistically, from the perspective of the dog, like, psychologically, what are they thinking when they're in the truck? Again, we have a fifth wheel. They're in the truck. The home has moved, and then they go inside of the home, and everything is the same, but everything else has changed. Like
the whole environment, yeah.
I'm like, that's gotta feel jarring for a dog. Obviously, our dog, who's sleeping right down there, is used to it, and she's fine with it. And most dogs don't have an issue, but I'm always wondering, like, what are they thinking? I guess it's really not that far off from when you're in the car, and they come into the car, and then they get out of the car. It's a different place. But I guess maybe it's different because it's your home. This is like where her beds are and all that. And y'all, our dog is a princess. She has 3 beds. One in the truck, one in the living room, and one in the bedroom. And she knows when you say bedtime, which bed
that means.
that is.
Mm-hmm. And she stays there all night long.
And then there's carride for getting into the car. That is, I guess, one way to make sure your dog is comfortable. Now, our dog, we did have her before we started full-timing. So she got familiar to a home. Actually, she got familiar to 2 different homes before we even entered the RV. And I think that helped her out a little bit.
I do too. But one of the things that I would say in terms of the most critical tips is keeping them safe. So an RV is not always the safest thing, especially when you're getting ready for travel day or moving day. Those slides coming in, or just getting the RV hitched up, taking the chocks and blocks off of the tires, all of that stuff can be really, really dangerous if you've got a little fur baby following you around. We've heard some horror stories from some people, and we just really wanted to make sure that every single time Dodger, which is our pup, was safe. And so what we do is when we're getting ready to get hitched up, like we'll go through, we do our checklist, we make sure everything's packed away inside. And then before I get ready to pull the slides in, I go ahead, and by this time you've started the truck, so it's either cooling down if it's hot outside or it's warming up if it's cold outside. That's very rare.
That's how temperatures work.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
But I go ahead and put her into the truck and put her in her car bed in the truck. I close the door. She's nice and comfy in there. She's good to go and she's happy. But then she's out of the way for the slides to come in, us to hitch up and get ready to go.
We actually don't close the door very often. I think it's sometimes we do, but a lot of times we actually don't, because she just
stays.
She's like, okay, I'm in my spot. Okay, I'm just gonna watch y'all until y'all are ready to go.
I actually started doing that a little bit more often because she does seem to get a little bit more anxious when I just leave the door open and then she can't quite see me. But if the door's closed, then she feels very safe because it's kind of a smaller environment and she feels much more at ease.
And that's a great secondary thing to worry about with dogs is their anxiety. Yep. They know things are going on, but they don't, again, that goes back to what I was saying earlier, they don't really understand what's going on. So they're just taking their cues from us. And so I don't know about y'all, we've heard from many other couples, our dog included, that get really, really like, some will get hyperactive. Ours gets a little anxious when they know it's travel day, and they know it really, really well. Like
She knows it like the morning of. Like as soon as I get up in the morning, she knows it.
She's like there in the bathroom while Kara's taking a shower, and we haven't even done anything yet.
I haven't done anything different in my routine that morning, but she's literally standing or laying on the bath mat waiting for me to get out, and she will stay right at my heels the whole time I'm getting ready on travel day. She just knows.
It's like she thinks we're going to leave her behind, even though we never have. Dogs are funny that way, but it is something to keep in mind. Like, anxiety is not good for us as human. Anxiety is not good for the dogs either. So it is best to give them a routine. Make them feel comfortable. I think the more we've done it, the more comfortable, less anxious she is. She still wants to be right there with us, but the less anxious, at least I hope. Yeah. She exudes less anxiousness unless we take her through the car wash. That's a different story.
Well, we do, but that's something that I think is really important to keep in mind too, is find those trigger points for your pets of what does trigger that anxiety for them and try to help them feel more comfortable with it. So for travel day, we're getting ready. We know she's anxious. We both try to take a moment and give her more reassurance, tell her good girl, give her more petting, like get, one-on-one with her, eye-to-eye contact with her, and make sure that she feels really, really comfortable that we're not going to leave her behind. Yeah, she does. And then the car wash. I actually heard a lot of people, we did a recent short video on it on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. Be sure to follow those accounts too. And when I said, our dog just comes unglued. She's normally super chill. She comes unglued at the car wash or the truck wash. And we like to go through truck washes when it's travel day because then we can get the RV cleaned easy. Yeah. But she is like, I don't know what happened to her. She got traumatized or something at a car wash. And so she doesn't do it. So what we have learned to do now is when we get close to the washing bay, I just get out with her on a leash and like take her for a walk while the truck is being washed. And she's still kind of uncomfortable, you can tell, but she's like a little bit more chill. And it makes for a whole much better experience for everybody involved.
Speaking of comfort, let's talk about comfort when you're not in the RV, but the dog is.
Oh, yeah.
So we really, we didn't do it for our first, we didn't do it when we were just weekend warriors, and we didn't do it for the first year when we full-timed. But having a temperature monitor in your RV is really, really important. We've heard enough stories now that it's like, that really isn't something I want to take a risk of. Like, you going somewhere and losing power, and your dog, especially on a hot day, burning up. I mean, inside of the RV, when you take the AC out of it and it's just the sun beating down with no airflow inside whatsoever, I mean, these things will get easily over 90 to 100 degrees depending on how hot it is outside and how much sun you've got. And that is really, really bad for a dog. It's a different story. Like, some of you are going to say, well, my dog stays outside 100 degrees and she loves it. It's totally different.
That's great.
When you're outside with airflow. It's a totally different, it's like the whole thing of like, don't lock your baby or your dog, don't leave your child or your dog inside your car when you go inside. Like, it's the same
concept.
premise.
Yeah, same concept. And that's a good point, because it can happen very quickly. Now, it doesn't typically in an RV happen as quickly as it would happen in your vehicle. But RV installation is not like a home.
No.
It's not going to stay cool and keep that cool air inside very, very long when you lose power. And so it does not take long for it to heat up really, really high. The other thing that we have found with a monitoring service is ours also monitors humidity.
Yeah.
Humidity is awful for a camper. That's where you get mold and mildew, and I didn't silence my watch.
Well, speaking of which, that's actually our temperature monitor saying that it's back in range.
It is our temperature monitor saying it's back in range. So we use the Marcel temperature monitor system. We'll put the link in the description below. But
don't
we
forget
love
to
it.
do that.
Yeah, I won't forget to do that. We got it on Amazon. It's great. It actually is connected through our wireless phone service or a wireless phone service. So it's not connected via Bluetooth, which means if we lose power, it's still going to work. It's still going to send us text messages, and it'll let us know.
It plugs in and has a battery pack, so that way, if it loses power, it notifies you, because it knows that, and it's got its battery pack to help keep it going even when it does.
Well, the nice thing, too, is so we can set what temperature range we feel is comfortable, or what temperature range we're not comfortable with, where we want it to text us, either too hot or too cold, as well as the humidity level, too. So we are able to really control that. But yeah, we've had a couple of instances when we were camping a couple years ago. I think it was in Kentucky, and it was the middle of the summer. We had gone, I think it was like an hour and a half away to like some point of interest. I'm sure we probably went to like a distillery or something like that. We lost power at the campground, and we got notified. We saw the temperature range going up because we were able to go to the app and actually see the temperature range going up. And we were like, this is not okay. We're worried about her. So we were able to turn around, come back, and get her taken care of. By that time, the power had come back on. We were able to get the camper cooled down again, and all was well. But that's just like one example of where a temperature monitoring service can come in clutch to help save your fur babies from like a really gnarly situation.
Speaking of being long, being gone.
Being gone long.
Don't be gone long.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you have a cat and they have access to a litter box, that may be one thing. They might be a little bit more self-sufficient. If you have a dog or a parrot or an iguana, or I don't know.
A parrot probably seems pretty self-sufficient.
Probably self-sufficient.
So, same with iguana, yeah. It's really just dogs.
If you have a pup, they can't be gone that long. Their little bladders are not going to hold out that long.
Like our dog, she'll hold it for 12 hours, and it's happened because of like medical issues, and she'll hold it for 12 hours, but that is not good. Like, that can cause health issues for your dog. Please, 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 please don't be gone that long. That was a completely uncontrollable health situation. Speaking of health issues, another important factor for, you're going to be in an RV park. So think about it this way. All the RVs are kind of close together. Your neighbors are close by. Well, yeah, your neighbors are close by. That's really actually the only main point I was going to make with that.
Good job.
Yeah, I got there. Totally nailed it. Socialize your pet, because I did. So we weren't close in this scenario. We were actually quite a ways from this person, and I happened to be. I think I was passing by, maybe taking the trash, or maybe I was just walking. I don't remember. And they had this cute little Airstream. My parents have an Airstream, and they're all about the Airstream. This was just a tiny little one, and I mean,
like the little Bambis.
I think it was. It felt like it was smaller than a Bambi, but
Oh, wow.
what it ended up being really cool about it is it's actually really old too, and they had completely redone the inside. And I was sitting there talking to them about it, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to come inside and take a look?" And I was like, "Sure." Well, Mama just lets go of her tiny little yap dog, and comes over and fucking bites me.
Yeah, just let the dog go. And the dog had been like yapping and growling and like definitely did not want you there, and so that's why she was holding the dog in the first place. But then as soon as you go look in their camper, which they invited you to do, of course the dog is going to feel like very territorial about that, and
What dog wouldn't?
Goes and just bites him.
Our dog, who wouldn't bite anybody anyways, would be barking and growling if you come into our RV. She'll bark and growl if you knock on our RV.
Yeah.
And actually, I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe she would bite you if you came inside while we weren't around. I don't know. Don't test that theory.
Well, but they were around.
But they were around, and definitely the dog was not well socialized. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that, but this is why it is important to socialize your dog, so your dog gets used to people coming around. So like our dog, she's good when she sees people passing by. If they get there's like a proximity. If they get too close to the camper, she does kind of bark a little bit, but she generally, like, if we tell her no, this is okay, she calms down because she's just being protective. But
Right.
once she knows that it's an okay scenario, it's like, okay, cool. That's not a big deal. I can back off. And part of that is socializing, teaching your dog how to be around other human beings
And other dogs.
or other
Other
dogs.
pets, yeah. And the nice thing is that a lot of campgrounds now, one of the big amenities that they have are dog parks. That's a pretty common amenity. It is also a really cool one that we like to see for her as well, just because it does allow them to socialize. It does allow them to get exercise. And it does allow them to get more comfortable and used to the new environment that they're in. So it's actually a really important thing.
Yeah.
We actually saw a campground recently. I forgot exactly where. Maybe in Tennessee, or maybe in Georgia, that had those private dog parks per site. So sometimes you can call a campground if for some reason you have a dog that is like not cool with other dogs and you need your own space. There are some campgrounds that are popping up that you can reserve a site where you have your own private little tiny like fenced off dog park. It's kind of cool.
So I'm going to call this out. The last thing that you should probably really worry about is knowing the campground rules. And one rule that's pretty common is to not leave your dog outside in the, if you have your own gate that you brought or the ones that they're provided, don't leave them outside when you're not out there with them. Honestly, that shouldn't have to be a rule. That should just be standard practice. We have been to campgrounds where people just leave their dog out all day while they're off. They're not even at the camper anymore, and that's just like their thing. And I get it. Like, dogs are outside animals, and that's probably a legit argument. It's less about them as much as it is about them also. It's also about their safety, because something could happen to them. Somebody could just steal them from you, and that's not really practical. Or like the gate could get broken, the wind could change, the weather could change, things could happen. It's just one of those scenarios like don't
leave them out.
Don't leave them outside. And you're going to get in trouble for doing it if it's against the rules. But there's lots of other rules. What other rules are there?
One thing that a lot of RV newbies don't realize is most campgrounds have breed restrictions.
Oh, yeah.
And many of them will actually specifically outline in their rules the breeds that they don't allow. Now, I get it. If you have one of those dogs, the ones that generally will pop up on that list are going to be German Shepherds, Pit Bulls, Dobermans,
Rottweilers?
Rotties, chows, the ones that are either perceived or do have aggressive tendencies will often pop up on those breed restriction lists. And the reason why campgrounds do it is, one, they want to keep everybody safe and they can't really necessarily take it case by case, but two, often their insurance companies require that of them. So be respectful, know that if you're thinking about RVing and you have one of those kinds of breeds that you know is probably going to get flagged, you need to really be aware of it. You need to make sure that you call that out for the when you plan your reservations, because the last thing you want to do is arrive at a campground, then see your dog and go, you got to find somewhere new, which can happen.
Like, and there's people who will legitimately try and just they'll lie about it. And maybe if your dog doesn't look like that breed, maybe you can get away with it. But if somebody sees it, it's they're gonna call it out. They're gonna tell somebody, and like if they've got that rule, it's there for a reason. Usually insurance, sometimes it's because past experiences, who knows, but you're gonna get in trouble, and that's not gonna make for a good time for you if you have to leave, either go back home or find a new campground that because you didn't, you lied to them, especially. Like, that's really going to get you in a lot of trouble. So yeah, that is definitely super important.
Yeah, other rules are kind of just more of common sense, good pet parent rules, like have your pets on a leash if you're walking them. We've actually seen cats being walked on a leash before. It's really cute.
Yes.
I actually really love seeing cats that will like walk on a leash, but make sure that you do that. Like, you never know what can happen. You never know what could scare them. Again, remember, they're in a brand new environment, and so they may behave differently than they ever have because they're in a brand new environment. Right. So leash rules are really good rules. And then also picking up after them. A lot of campgrounds will have poop bags just around the campground, or they'll have a designated poop bag in the dog park or things like that. Like, be nice to your neighbors. Nobody wants to go out in the middle of the night because they're walking their dog and their dog needs to poop and they step in something that they really don't want to step in, and then now they got to clean it up when they're like half asleep.
Yeah. That's not nice. Although when the bags are there, I like to take a few extra ones.
I do too. So yeah, I totally will. Like, I'll use one, but then I'll take like two more and I'll tie it to the leash handle, so that way, just in case, just in case I'm out again and like she didn't get it all out in one fell swoop, then I've got a spare bag.
You're just
available.
ready to go.
Ready to
Always
go.
ready. You are the Girl Scout.
I actually never went to Girl Scouts. I was never part of a Girl Scout troop. Were you ever part of Boy Scouts?
Nah.
Okay. Well, all right. We do have our own poop bags,
yes.
and we use those like if we're at a travel stop or something like that. So it is good to have your own, but when campgrounds have them, like, why not use theirs?
And borrow a few extras.
Exactly.
Yes, we're encouraging you to steal. We're great here. So those are kind of like the big... I don't want to say rules, but just kind of like pointers on like tips on how to manage RV life. Ooh, do you like my my tan line here?
Yeah, you got a nice little watch tan line going on.
Just some tips on what you can do to make traveling with a dog easier. This applies for weekend warriors or full-timers or everything in between. Like, this is just good advice. Like, if you're gonna take your dog or your pet, do it. You'll have fun. They'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy it. But just be smart about it.
Yeah, just be a good pet parent to them. And if we missed a tip, put it in the comments below so that way we can continue the conversation. But this was fun, and we should do it again next week. Happy camping. Bye!
Bye!
She did not want to cooperate with the thumbnail.
True.
She was like,
Yeah,
nope.
we were gonna just put her like her front paws like right here, just have her like be like no,
she was not having it. She's like, It's really funny because we talk to other pet parents and like their pets come up and join them on the couch or join them in bed or whatever. Ours never has. And
never had an interest in it.
I
think she's afraid of heights like me.
I think she is. Yeah, I think she really is. It kind of works out because then all four-legged friends keep all four legs on the ground, and it makes cleanup easier. It makes keeping our furniture clean much easier.
Yeah, and their nails
as well.
don't damage stuff as much. So like, it's actually kind of useful for us.